Greetings, 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 greetings. You know, this is King David here, and I'm definitely not in the mood to, to do a video, but I'm still gonna come across because, like I said, I have plenty to talk about, and if you don't talk about it, sometimes your talking game get dormant, yeah. And I have a whole bunch of cosmic messages. I have a whole bunch of messages still out there to come out. Yeah, this is King David once again with the cosmic knowledge. So greetings, greetings, greetings. I think it's after 12 now, so it's afternoon. I don't know if that is good to say. For normal we don't mourn, we don't say good morning, we say grand rising. So in afternoon, maybe that is accepted. After the noon. Never thought about it, but anyway, good afternoon. And I'm coming to you with this divine message, just the same cosmic knowledge as also the earthly message, because we're earth people. And the reason for sharing messages is to get to another social being, meaning a companion, a friend, a family, you know. And sometimes maybe if they consider themselves foes also. But we do this cosmic knowledge to enlighten and to upkeep the process and also the purpose of showing love, creating love through words, through your inner standing and your outer projection, through your imaginative, creation. But there's an imaginative creation within each and every one of us, and that's what form our reality of life. What do you know, think about on a daily basis or get involved in? Do you get involved in work? Do you sit like I recording will be stop and save after a call? Let me omit that call right there. Yeah, call omitted. Yeah, so so I'm saying, what do you purpose in your heart to do with the time that you're here on this earth, having this journey, having this experience, creating within your mental, thinking about things, thinking if you have to go to work to do a 9 to 5, to earn some money so that you could pay some bills and live within a comfort space. Yeah, all of these things are thought processes that we go through, relationship wise, do you think of, what type of man or woman you're looking for, to spend some time with and have like a communication. So a while ago I was just listening to two of Kevin Samuels. I think they killed a brother now, or he died, he passed on, however it is. Yeah, but that brother is gone. But I'm listening to him, kind of speaking, to resolve relationship, and it's usually female that are calling in to speak to him about relationship. And I used to think that he was like harsh and critical, but in actuality, when I listen to the calmness by which the guy execute his opinions, I realized that he has been cool. Yeah, he's like he was exposing some truth, and the truth might appear to be harsh, but it's the truth, And sometimes women are not equipped to deal with the truth. Three just passed by. Yeah, women are not equipped to deal with the truth in away. And I'm wondering if it's out of sympathy that we have to believe that they should or they shouldn't, or the reality of life is that they have been traumatized by other things, and we are non-sympathetic with women because we expect them to be really mild and docile, when actuality the hardships of life and the exposure and the immaturity and the fact that they didn't get the right kind of spiritual training may have affected them to the point that they are mental, so to speak. Like, a lot of us, it's not only women alone, men are mental too. But because you see, as long as you're trying to do something to affect your peace, yeah, you ought to do something. And excuse me, still overcoming that flu from the other day. Yeah, and the mental don't necessarily mean that you have to be subservient and stupid as a female, but the mental position that I think I'm talking about is to be able to get yourself in a balanced, peaceful, loving state where a lot of the things are not affecting you. Like things don't really affect you. Lack of expectation, lack of substance, physical substance, you know. And so I think the love factor is missing in a whole bunch of relationships from the very beginning, you know. And the fact that, you know, it's one-sided most time, where some people have expectation, but what about the next person's expectation, you know? And so looking back, even at the relationship that I have just separated from, I realized that most time the women are dominant in wanting expectation, you know, so that they can have the control. And the minute that they have lost that, then it's the relationship is not interesting anymore. Like, you know, the stimulant of control is gone. Like, you know, if I step up to realize and to say, you know, I'm putting up borders. I don't like this. I don't like this. You know, it's like I must trust you now. And so, because if I am saying you don't understand where I'm coming from when I said I don't like that, it's you. It's all about you. So I don't trust you. So you see, you see that kind of a issue. So if we are not in a mature relationship where these things are like at a balance, then obviously there's going to be chaos when the relationship, you know, start to go off end. Like for example, the expectation of the woman is not met. And so speaking and understanding from his point of view, and from his standing, you know, I am also realizing that most of us as men, like for myself, so I'm going to speak for myself, like in the relationship that I've had, for me as a male, what I was doing is trying to keep the relationship by being, you know, peaceful, by creating, all right, I am apologetic. All right, I did that. All right, I didn't mean to do that. But at the same time, while I apologize and try to keep the peace, it was as if in my other um empress, I still call her empress, you know, opinion, she think that I was trying to be nice because I know that I had fuck up. And I'm like, you know, things happen in a relationship, it's just that you're seeing it a different way. No, if I fuck up in your behalf, I apologize, because you know I am not going to fuck up and then you are going to get mad and then I am going to get mad. I am apologizing right away for fucking up, so that our relationship can continue in a smooth way, instead of you having depressive feelings over me fucking up and then going to bed and turn your back to me, and then, you know, don't want to have a nice spontaneous, you know, energy within the space. Because that's what you do. Anytime you get mad at the fact that I fuck up and then you keep that going, you're keeping a spontaneous burning going, which is it is not a good energy. And so if you can see that and say, all right, what is it that I should do to help to create the peace as the next person? And granted, yeah, you know, we might justify it as, oh, you know, I'm sensitive or I'm this. Yeah, you have your right to be sensitive, but you also have a right to help in creating peace and unity within your relationship. Yeah. And so now, you know, having to speak about relationship, because you know it's very important. We that's the purpose of having a woman, having a man. And what I'm realizing now, even at my 62 age of years, is that plenty of people are having relationship. I go relationship problems. Yeah, plenty of people, and they think that they are having smooth. No, it's just that some people have decided to stay within the relationship. Some, you know, you have accepted. You know, it doesn't bother you. But for those who it bothers, you know, usually they make a decision to cut or to separate. But yeah, in the relationship that I had in the marriage before, the one with the Empress, I cut. And it's because I feel like as if I wasn't comfortable in the relationship, but I didn't take the time to discuss it. It was just an immaturity on my part where I can accept, you know, I may have been doing the fucking up and wasn't satisfied in the marriage, you know, maybe sexually, whatever, you know, maybe I wanted a different woman, so there was infidelity in the relationship, maybe I didn't want to go to church, you know, a lot of these things combine, you know, and yeah, so I took off and just cut the relationship. So, and granted, you know, the person that I left behind who wanted a relationship, obviously she was going to feel screwed over. Yeah. while I'll be on the street just justifying myself. The only thing is that I wasn't mad at, when I left, because I realized and thought I took responsibility to say, it's me. I'm screwing up. I'm gone, but I still don't want the relationship because it's not going to be trust. There are some things that I may have justified to say, um, that's what is happening. Yes, the relationship had gotten uncomfortable, and I just didn't want the marriage no more. I didn't want to go to church. Yeah, I didn't want to have that representation of being Mr. Williams instead of Mr. Nelson. And there were several things. But looking back at it now, and if I actually say some of these things to the ex-wife, she will think as if maybe there was no love, there was no whatever respect. But that was the truth. It's like speaking the truth. I have to say it exactly like it is. And now thinking that just because I recognize that I may have fucked up, I am here now, that I am going to, yeah, I may have changed, but what about you? The woman has her ways, that, and she hasn't changed. And as far as I am concerned, she has gotten worse. You see? And when you stop to tell them, this is your way, and this is your way, and this is your way, or you're doing certain thing, yeah, they may look at you as if you are the bothersome person, you are the one making the problem. But you're saying, no, try to understand that I have a way too. But if it is your way that is always going to be constantly met, then how is it that I am going to have my way? Because then I have to submit to your every way and be manipulated. So I have to be out of my comfort zone to be doing the things that you want me to do instead of what I want to do. So in that case, having that maturity, that emotional maturity to see these things, you opt not to be in a relationship, that kind of relationship. And sometimes those are the things that form trigger for, like, right now I am planning to for why would you want to be in a space where you're having all of this discomfort, non-agreement? You don't want to be in that space. Yeah, you're not aligned in that space, so you have to get yourself out of that space quickly. Why waste time to be in that space when you have options? So to make the decision to get out of the spaces and to live within your comfort zone, nothing is wrong with that. Yeah, nothing is wrong with that. It's just like I'm saying, once I decide to do that now and leave out of this space right here, then I am going to look again as if I am the one that's not conforming. Recording will be stop and save. Not this recording, because I'm not going to answer that phone right now. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm saying that, yeah, so why should I take on the responsibility to be the one that's apologetic at all times, trying to make the peace at all times, trying to understand what you're doing at all times? No. And if you find that, you are the person who, have your ways, satisfy your ways are your ways, you know. But I also want to enlighten and encourage that, you have to be peaceful in yourself, because if your ways are one of the angry ways that, you're always angered and not able to discuss stuff or run, then you don't get much accomplished. And like for me, see, out of that marriage, I ran out of that marriage and I found myself right back in the marriage. But now that I found myself back in that relationship, not the marriage, but the relationship, what I am doing is actually making truthful decision. I don't want this relationship. I'm not in alignment with that. I'm not in alignment. You're not in alignment with. So why waste our time? It's a relationship. No, we have had a marriage and divorce on paper. On paper, so legitimately on paper, we are not. But if you think spiritually, for Christians' sake, Christians always believe that, marriage forever. But what about the fact that you were married before and I was married before too? So we have to go back to that forever from the first marriage, if that was the case. So these are the things, are the contracts that we find ourselves with, are in America, that is just bonding yourself to whatever spiritual entity you're serving. For example, marriage is under the Christian religion. If you are truthfully giving yourself to Jesus Christ, it's an entity outside of self. You're giving yourself unto Yadabra. It's an entity outside of self. And so, in truth and in fact, those kind of marriages that you're giving, like, for it's that entity that had given you permission to be together, the authority by which the government operates under. That was the authority. So if that is a devilish authority, or godly, whatever you see it as, that's the authority you are under. So no, that's what it is. You're under that authority. No, that's why in the ancestral cultures, marriages and ritual were different, were formed. And that's why I was also thinking that, in the relationship, that's why I say in the relationship now, because I had a marriage which was 17 years. I had a relationship which was, I think, a better relationship, but it was just a commitment between me and the Empress, having to say, you know what, I'm committing my life to you by, my resources and my attention, what I have or what I am possible to do. And likewise, she was committing herself likewise to, to be comforted within, the constraint of what we have. I think for the most part, um, I never saw her as a person who had gone out there and was having infidelity relationship, until the latter part of the relationship. When I was gone, I realized that she might have been doing things, but I've never suspected, like she may have had uh, a sexual encounter with anyone else outside of the relationship that I was having. Put it that way. Yeah, yeah, there was never. And even though, on my part, there could have been suspicion. Zine, yeah, and yeah, but that was past, that was gone. And since that suspicion, I've never put myself in a position to be in a suspected cheating game. Yeah, because I didn't. Yeah. And so now we're not even talking about the cheating. We're talking about the discomfort now within the relationship. The other issues, like, a woman is not satisfied or a man is not satisfied. There's other issues, of discomfort. For example, after a number of years of living in certain kind of amenities and comfort in United States, air conditioning, I'm talking, you're living in an apartment, to reach the point where you start living in a doghouse and have to be shitting in bags and catching your water otherwise to shower. And in the United States, we're talking about, a thing that at some point might have get us some amount of momentum or discomfort. And most people, and I'm going to be nice with it, most people now going to like to know that they were shitting in bags and, yeah, operating. So that's how me and my Empress was doing it. And we had just reached to a point where we just wasn't I wasn't working, she wasn't working, until I start getting some government checks. And right after I start getting some government checks, that's when the issue come up. And I don't think it was the money was the issue now. Yeah, because the money was there to share. Either we had I had separated and gone to Jamaica and still like, Empress, do a 3 months, man, do your thing, and then let's link again. But that never worked out. You understand what I'm saying? So everybody have them levels of discomfort, and there's a breaking point. And when there's a breaking point, sometimes that's when the separation come about. And that is in the physical, realm now, because it's just that we yearn for these physical stuff. Yeah. But relationship wise, if you have the dedication or the livication to say, I am committed to this relationship, no matter hardship, no matter what, you know I'm still going to remain peaceful in this relationship. I'm still going to remain positive in this relationship, to know that something is going to come, something, have that belief. But after going through the cycles of, the same things that come in, then we go through the cycle, you know I understand the frustration. I understand, yeah. And like for right now, for me, I think these things are important, to find out and see in a relationship, even prior to, because I think people are psychologically affected certain ways. If certain traumatic things that we have experienced in our childhood days, if we keep them, if we keep anger at parents, siblings, and these kinds of stuff, these are trauma that you're bringing into from then until now. And that is my point. To me, a lot of people are not at that level where they can accept that. To say, if you bring, relationship problems from, whether it between parents or between siblings or between friends, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you have relationship problems where you were angered or vexed or bitter at somebody, then, and you bring it into this point, even though you say you have forgiven mean that you're at a point where you don't even mention it no more, and it doesn't affect a relationship. Like, even though you're far, but we have communication devices now where we can communicate by means of a phone. Like, for example, if I were mad at, say I am mad at my mother, but that's an example, and I'm not trying to throw words, this and that, but say, yeah, I have circumstances right now where people who personally know me, they're mad at their mother. So, and it's more than one person, so it's not anyone, but it's a good example. I'm saying, say for example, you're mad at your mother for however she may have treated you or whatever she may have said in the past. But today you're way up in your 50s now, or in your 50s, or early 30s, 40s. It don't matter, but you're up there, and you're still carrying that grievance to say your mom did you that, and you can remember, your mom still doing this, and your mom still doing that, and your mom did you that. You know, it is the fact that you had seen your mom in that light why you still bring it up to today, and that is the reason you're carrying that bitterness in you to say they are your enemy. But that is in you. Remember now, I'm telling you, that is the way how you feel. It doesn't matter how they feel. They feel towards you is different. They are going to express their love different. But how do you feel towards them? Because when I look at your face, yeah, I see, like, you're not even in your calm. So you have not forgiven the parents. And granted, you know that that's how they are, and that's how they're going to be, and that's how you're going to see them. But it is the fact that you have still not forgiven them yet. But if you had forgiven them, you can easily say, "Oh, I know my mom, don't express things like that, man. That's how she is. That's her way." But, you still have to show her love. Anytime you can be empathetic and sympathetic like that, understanding like that, tolerant like that, that means you're on your way to being a good forgiver. You're on your way to building more peace within yourself instead of harboring that hate. For I'm telling you, every thought of a person in a negative way, every thought of her, even if I do it, if I'm seeing it, I'm not saying that you can't understand the way they're operating and see that and discuss that. I'm saying the thought of you seeing them in that light, you know like for me now in this relationship, there are things that is not in alignment with it, but it's not like I see her in that light. It's not like I see her as, and I'm going to express that she's this and she's that and she's that. I'm just saying that she's not in alignment with me, because I'm seeing that, I'm sensing that coming out of you, and they are not just in alignment with me. So it's not peaceful. And wherever we have options in life, we can make options. We don't have obligations to be with nobody for the rest of our life. If it's not comfortable, yeah, we don't have no obligation. And that is the point that I have accepted and reached, that we don't have no responsibility to be with nobody for the rest of your life that is making you uncomfortable. So if you're uncomfortable within a relationship, and especially if you determine that from the very beginning, it helps to formulate a relationship now that will help you further on in the road, to let you know that, I had seen that, and it's good that I had never accepted that. But sometimes the lust of the body, of the flesh, and certain lack of information, we just like snap decision to be with people, because we sense that beauty. We are on that level at that time. Yeah, we are resonating the same way. I can make you smile, you can make me smile. I say good things to capture your heart, and you're doing good things to capture my heart, and the relationship is smooth. But when other disturbances and other issues come along as you have a daily journey, within that relationship, there are times when the tolerance for each other is not there. Like, I hate this. You start to see, like, even in my relationship, I think after a while, my I have an inguinal hernia that was like pushing out more and more, and I was getting skinny and skinny, and I look like I have two big, seed on my front. And my I don't think Empress like that. She never really said anything to me, but I think she thought that was a health issue. And I so my expectation now that she's gone, is that she perhaps would have said, well, let's go take care of this and this. But like for me, we have accepted my life. I'm saying, I am God, the universe from within, and I am healing on the inside. So if I'm in a position where my guts are busted out in that area, it's physically certain things are happening. Now it's for me either to accept that, or that I can rectify it with some form of medical treatment, and hopefully it not hurt me. But the fact that I don't still believe that as a God I should give my life over to somebody to put me under anesthesia, then sometimes you accept this and say the God, so you have to trust the God. Yeah, yellow and black butterfly coming around. Let me see if I could get it in my view. Yeah, beautiful butterfly come around. And it's not a simple thing when you see animals coming around you. You see, the other day I see a locust, what that we call a fairy in the spiritual world. You see butterfly, they are metamorphosized. See, you just pass here. Yeah, God, dear goddess is black and white. I don't know if you were able to catch that. Yeah. So you see butterfly, it's high frequency. You don't see butterflies come around people normally. You see bees come around, hummingbirds, certain type of birds that come around you. That means you're high frequency. If you notice in my background, you'll always hear you'll always hear birds like chirping in the background. They make, yeah, they and I are one. They make good friendly noise with that. Yeah, nature. I like to sit in nature and do these videos sometimes. Yeah. So I'm saying the other day again, I saw a snake, and snake passed by, but like for a lot of people now, especially when you're Christianized, to believe that a snake is something that's not kosher, because who turned Pharaoh into snake, and the snake deceive Eve and give him the apple, and the snake this and the snake, and there's a whole bunch of theory negatively about snake. So that's why we have this fear of snake. And usually when you see snake, you want to kill them, because my ex was asking me, so like basically, I don't remember if the suggestion was me, like, so what you do, like, you never try to kill it. I said, no, why should I try to kill another god? Yeah. No, that's God's creation, so it's God in it. You understand what I'm saying? So why should I just try to kill it? It's crawling, along its belly, going there. And they say anywhere there's clean place, the snake will crawl through there. If it's not clean, the snake. And no, she laced it with some anti-snake venom, whatever it is. She laced the place with that, because of fear. No, I would sit right here, and I don't care if a snake come along. The snake come along, it will see me, and by the time it decide to do something, he and I are, she and I are friend, because there's no fear. The snake sense the fear. Dogs just the same, and so that's why you see butterflies will come around, locusts will come around, and what else I see come around? Butterfly, the snake the other day, bees. Bees come around. You know and birds are always coming close. Like I sat somewhere the other day, and a bird came right up the side, and they was just picking things from the ground, and the guy was saying to me, you think that's a rare thing, a usual thing? No, normally you don't find birds coming up and be so tame with people. It must be because of your higher frequency, you see. So yeah, I am going to constantly talk about this higher frequency, and hopefully I'll be able to send this love message out there consistently, continuously. This forgiving message. This message of being able to balance anger and all that situational stuff, and emotions from within. So it's like mastering self to be emotionally intelligent and purposeful in your very own way, so you can find your peace. Because at the end of the day, you have to find your peace. If you don't find peace, you will be discomforted. Again, this is King David coming to you with the cosmic knowledge, divine insight, and as well your bodily daily relationship problems or no problems if you have it. Have a wonderful day.